All right. Hey, everybody. Dr. Zuleta here. Welcome to the Diabetes Remission Blueprint and the Diabetes Remission Masterclass. So super excited to be here with you. I'm just trying to get everything ready here. So that's why it's kind of taking a second or two, but we are all good to go. And so in this webinar, I'm going to share with you how to reverse your type 2 diabetes and without supplements. Now, that is a bold statement. Of course, everybody cannot reverse their type 2 diabetes. Of course, this is not any sort of health claim specifically to your case, but studies do show that about 60% of the people can reverse their type 2 diabetes. So that's what we're going to be talking about how that happens and how that happens in the body and what people have to do to get there. So this is definitely for people who are tired, sick and tired of taking pills, sick and tired of taking medications, sick and tired of all of this, and they want to get rid of pills, they want to get rid of medications, and they want to feel better. This is not for somebody who's looking for a quick fix, magic pill that's going to take care of all your problems, right? And so if you stay until the end, I'm actually going to give you the Diabetes Remission Blueprint book that you can download immediately right after the class. So all I ask is that you guys ask a question at the end and just give me your name so I know who to send it to and your email, right? And so then I'm going to tell you a little bit about why should you listen to me and why should I be speaking about this? Well, my name is Dr. Andres Zuleta. I am a practicing medical doctor here in the United States. I've been practicing inpatient medicine for approximately 9 years, taking care of sick patients in the hospital. And, you know, I've also gotten training I've also gotten training in integrative medicine, and I've gotten training in nutrition and health coaching and anything pretty much that I thought could help my patients get better. And so this is a big important factor because a lot of the stuff I really did not learn about it in medical school, which is kind of sad, but this is the way that it works. And so also, after doing all of that, I actually started the Diabetes Free Summit, which we have done multiple of those, bringing the world's experts to be able to discuss how type 2 diabetes remission works for many, many, many different people. And at the same time, I want you to think about a time in your life in which type 2 diabetes has been gone. In a time in your life in the future where you know exactly how to deal with your type 2 diabetes, you know exactly what to do, you know exactly how to manage it, right? So I want you to think in the future about that. And so today I'm going to share with you just that and tell you exactly how you can do that, as many people have done it, you know, as many people have done it. So I want you to think about that. And so I know that you have tried medications. I know that you have tried many different pills. I know that you've tried many different diets. And because of all of those issues, I want to share with you how I, you know, kind of found a solution. And I found a method that works for many people. And this is what I call the Thrive Medicine method. And Thrive Medicine just means that we focus more on prosperity. You know, medicine focused on prosperity rather than just focusing on illness, right? And so I think that's a big distinction of how, you know, how this can be such an impactful thing. Now, at the beginning of my life, I did have a dream of becoming a physician, and I came to the United States. And I did just that. I became a doctor. While I was going through residency, you know, things were going somewhat well. I mean, from the outside, everything was perfect. But then what happened is that I actually hit rock bottom during my residency, and I had to really figure out what health meant to me and how I was going to thrive as a human being because things were not looking pretty. And as I was going through my own healthcare transformation, I realized that many patients actually needed a lot of the information that I was going through and a lot of the um, insights that I was having. And this is why I came up with this method, you know. Also, at the same time, I remember the day where one of my co-residents, one of my colleagues, gave me a little book about type 2 diabetes management. And I remember looking at this book and thinking to myself, there is got to be a better way than just giving pills to people. There is got to be a better way. And so I did do just that. I then went on a journey to try to figure out what was the best way. And at the same time, I had a little epiphany. I came across studies that show that type 2 diabetes could be reversed. And to be honest with you, I had a feeling that this is what the truth was, but I had not actually explicitly read that in a peer review article. And so this is when I created a Thrive Medicine framework. But it wasn't easy, you know, throughout my whole career, as soon as I started learning about all of this, I tried to share this information in the hospital. But of course, it wasn't easy. The colleagues were not ready to hear it, and they didn't really care. And the patients were not really ready to hear it because they were sick in the hospital. And many of them didn't really think that this information could help them in any way, shape, or form. And so I realized in that moment that I needed to create something different. I needed to create a new way of communicating with patients and a new way of helping patients educate themselves so that they could take the decisions that was going to get them to the place where they wanted to be. And at the same time, I was feeling pretty good. I started figuring out my own health from my body perspective, from a mindset perspective, from an environmental perspective, and from a perspective of philosophy. You know, my philosophy around life changed a lot. And that's when I came out with the Thrive Medicine programs. And it's mainly, as I said, it's prosperity-focused medicine. So let me tell you a story about a patient. Her name is Marvella. Marvella was actually recently lost 100 pounds. 100 pounds she lost. And she actually reversed her type 2 diabetes. And so the truth is that I want to share with you how Marvella did it. And I want to share with you so that you don't have to struggle like Marvella and I did, learning years after years. For me, it was 20 years plus trying to figure out health, medical school, college, residency, fellowships, courses, learning from mentors. All of this took about 20 years. So I don't want you to wait 20 years to get this done. I want you to do it as soon as you want. And so that's what Thrive Medicine is all about. So in this webinar, I'm going to cover with you how to discover the real diagnosis, your real diagnosis, and how that can help you get to the root of your type 2 diabetes disease, and how you can use that to leverage your own body to get healthier. The secret number 2 is going to be how to discover and end the confusion of all of these diets, how to end the confusion of all of these diets, and start to use keystone frameworks. And the last secret I want to share with you is how to create an environment that sets you up for success, an environment that helps you when you need it, supports you when you need it, and gives you a good accountability when you need it. So let's start with the secret number one, how to discover the root of type 2 diabetes without just using Band-Aid diagnosis or Band-Aid pills or Band-Aid diets, and use your own endocrine system instead of using an endocrinologist to escape this disease. And so I want to introduce you to the remission probability assessment. And so this is a rough estimate of how is type 2 diabetes, how can you achieve type 2 diabetes, whether you can or not, right? So I want to tell you a brief history about how I discovered all of this. You see, the girl that you see on your left is a girl that has type 1 diabetes. And she was actually one of the first patients who got insulin. And guess what happened to her after she got insulin? She gained weight, right? Because insulin is a growth hormone and it helps the body build itself. And so what happens when she got insulin? Because she didn't have it, she gained weight. Why? Because her cells were starving of glucose. Her cells were starving of fuel. Now, the insulin in her body is really not being made. So if you ask any doctor about this, most of them, if you ask any doctor about how diabetes works, most of them will tell you, okay, diabetes works like this. There is type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is that the key is not working. So therefore, the pancreas is not making insulin, right? And so therefore, the key doesn't even exist, and the key being insulin, and therefore, you don't have any blood glucose going into your cells, therefore your cells starve to death, right? Now, if you take insulin, this insulin will help as the key to get the sugar into the cells so that the cells can have some nutrition. Crazy enough, they'll tell you also that type 2 diabetes is a disease where the key is being made by the liver, but it doesn't work. And so you end up in problems. You see, though, what happened is that type 2 diabetics are from true, because it's not that they have too little insulin. What happens, or that the insulin doesn't work, what happens is that there is too much insulin, and the insulin becomes then ineffective. It's like trying to pack 10 people into an elevator. You might be able to get them, but there's going to be a point in which the person helping people into the elevator becomes ineffective. This would be called, the security guard resistance. That means that, there is a lot of resistance. That person is not gonna work anymore because there is not enough, force that you can pack more people into an elevator, right? Because the elevator is already overflowing. And so the same thing in type 2 diabetes, the elevator is overflowing. The cells are already overflowing with sugar. So it's not that the insulin is broken. It's just that there is too much of it and there is too much sugar. And so the insulin can turn the key, but it cannot open that door because or it cannot shove more glucose into that cell because it's already packed with glucose. Now, so step number one of the diabetes remission assessment, check your body. Check your body first, right? See if you have insulin resistance. How do you do that? You take a measuring tape or a string and you measure your waist. And if your waist is more than half your height, then you probably have insulin resistance. What that means is that your type 2 diabetes is probably reversible. What that means is that your body is still making insulin. Your body is still making insulin, right? So well, if you don't get a straight up answer from that little test that I just told you about, or if you want more details, you want to do your biometric testing. What does that mean? You check your body for C peptide. Your C peptide is a number that will tell you how much insulin is being made. Now, this is only one of the tests. There's about 7 ways of more accurate than others. But your physician can order this, and it can help you determine where you are. Now, step number 3, realize that type 2 diabetes is the main type of diabetes. That means that most people with diabetes have type 2 diabetes reversible disease. Most people, about 60% of them, right? And so that's really important, because then that can make you feel better. Then you know that you're not, one of those people who actually cannot reverse their. Step number 4 is that you can actually do genetic testing to see whether you have a genetic tendency to prediabetes, and that if you have diabetes, that you see how it can best be treated. Now, let me tell you a little bit more about Marvella. She lost 100 pounds, over 100 pounds, and she got off of all of her medications. Now she's in 0 medications. This is when she texted me. She said, my hemoglobin A1C is 5.0 and I'm off medication. The doctor also mentioned my number, but this going out. I mean, medication for now. I'll follow up next month. They'll be giving me a copy of my numbers when the results are up. So well, she for type 2 diabetes. This works for pre-diabetes. This works for people who are unsure which one they. This works for people with type 1.5 diabetes, and this works for people who just want to improve their health, right? And even doctors and nurses who are listening to this right now, who want to improve the knowledge that they have to help their patients. So just a recap, right? Know your body, measure your body, and that way you'll know whether you have insulin resistance. Step number 2, leverage your biometrics, guys. Use the test. We have the test. Use the test, right? Discover your proteins. So if you need to get antibody testing, get them done. Get them done so you get out of this uncertainty. And unlock your genetic code. Unlock your genetic code, guys. If you cannot get answers from this, or you want to go more into your gene. Now, discover how to finally overcome the diet confusion. This is secret number 2. So I want to introduce to you what I call the N of 1 nutritional framework. The N of 1 nutritional framework is a method that I came up with after being exposed to so many different diets, so many different dietary guidelines, so many issues like this, right? Because what happened is that I was so confused. I didn't know which diet to use. I didn't know whether I wanted to go ketogenic, whether I wanted to go low carb, whether I wanted to, do other things. Depending on what I wanted to do, I didn't know which diet to use. And so what happened is that I then started using, getting more educated on this issue, and I became educated on dietary and nutrition education. So I actually got some training from the Integrative Institute of Nutrition, which was amazing. It was a great experience. And then I experimented myself with all of these different diets, right? So I want to start with the first thing, the first part, which is decision making. How do you make your decisions? Did you know that most of the days you're making the same decisions? So we need to become aware of the decision that we're making, and understand that this is probably the best medicine that you can take, right? Why is that? Well, because actually the definition of medicine is appropriate action to restore hemostasis. And the definition of medicine is actually to measure the way the drawbacks and the cons and the pros, to measure all of that. And so that's the first step to understand the power of decision making. At the end of the day, decisions shape our destiny. Step number 2, realize that you are an individual with bioindividuality. That means that no doctor can tell you exactly what's going to work for you. They can tell you different approaches. They can tell you don't eat leptins, don't eat this, don't eat that. But if you're not getting results, then you're not getting results. So we need to get you results. Step number 3, it's important that you crowd out. What is crowding out mean? That means that you put into your body the most healthiest, the simplest thing first before you put any other stuff in it. That's crowding out. Step number 4, reframe. What does this mean, reframe it? Reframe it means that, look, nutrition doesn't come from your secondary nutrition alone. It comes from primary nutrition, right? Your job, your spirituality, your environment, what you're doing on that day. If it's demoralizing, your energy is going to be in the tank. If it's an amazing experience, you're going to be up and about. You're going to be going for it. So it's important to realize that. And then what I call foundational nutrition means your mindset, your strength of mind to be able to overcome adult adverse experiences, right? Traumas, people, stuff and crap that just happens that takes your energy down, your energy levels take it down. So you got to be able to build the resources to battle this as soon as it comes. And that's what I call foundational nutrition. And it's important because, look, when you can see the adverse childhood experiences can hurt you with your health, it's really important to realize that, man, it's big here. So looking at our trauma is a major opportunity to actually get rid of diseases. So take, for instance, the lady who was in the ER. She was great. She was having a heart attack. And she was feeling it. And she told me, I said to her, hey, when was the last time that you were, like, your body was, like, fit? She said, 10 years ago, I was super fit. I was well. I was doing well. I was amazing. And then about 10 years ago, I started dating this guy. And, I was dating this guy, and we broke up about 10 years ago. And it became so bad. After the breakup. And I lost my self-worth. And look at me now. I wasn't taking care of myself. And I'm hurting now. I am having a heart attack, and I am very ill in many organs of my body. And so that was really interesting for me, because then I realized that, wow, like, this is not only adverse childhood experiences, this is like all the crap that happens to us. We need to be able to have coping systems to deploy them as soon as possible. So just like for her, there was stuff going on that she didn't know was impacting her health. We need to figure out for you what that is, right? And so this is helpful for people with type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, unsure which one they are, 1.5, insulin resistant, and people who just want to take their health to the next level. And so, recap secret number 2. The decision playbook is important. Test your biochemistry. Crowd out and reframe. All right, everybody. Let's go to secret number 3. Secret number 3 is how to transform your surroundings into rocket fuel to reverse type 2 diabetes without being crippled by an identity crisis. And so what I want to share with you is what is called expo design. Expo design means that we're going to gather intelligence. We're going to identify impactful factors. We're going to design a approach. We're going to plan and pattern the interruption and execute, right? So let's start with gathering intel. As many as you know, I work in the hospital, and at the hospital, I see patients all the time. And one of these patients was about to go into a coma, right? And he was about to go into a coma, and we got his blood sugars down initially, but then his blood sugars kept going up and up, and we just couldn't get him to a regular level. And so what happened is that I was rounding. I was rounding, and I was looking at and